So hey folks, so it is now side-by-side comparison time. This is the 2017 F350 Platinum to a 2016 F450 Platinum. Let's start with the side profile so you can kind of see the height difference between the two trucks. The mirrors are also a pretty good way to start. The height of the 350 looks to be about 3 inches higher. Bed height on this truck, it's right at 57 3/4 inches. So now the same measurement on my truck is right at 55 inches. So you're looking roughly almost 3 inches taller, completely stock than the truck that I have. So I'm right at 35.5 inches on the tailgate to the ground on my F450. And here's kind of an odd difference. I'm right at 36.5 inches on the F350 tailgate to the ground. Now I'm going to do a rear seat measurement because I kind of want to see what the difference truly is. I took this thing for a test drive actually, and my daughter claimed that it felt like it was much larger. Then we hopped into my F450 and it seemed to be about the same. So let's kind of measure here. So from the back of the seat, and this is in the normal sitting position for me. So I can adjust the seat to both trucks to be right at the same position for me to be comfortable up front. And then I kind of want to see what it looks like in the back because I think this is more of a practical measurement test. So from the back seat, the back of the front seat to the front of the cushion here, we're right at roughly 14 inches. Let's see what the other truck looks like. Pardon my messy truck, but we're right at around 12 inches on my F450. So the F350 over there, the 2017, appears to give you practically about 2 additional inches of leg space or knee space versus the outgoing model. Let me show you 12 inches because it might be a bad angle. Now, this is where I was under the impression that the new Super Duty would be a little bit narrower because it's the actual external specs say the body or the cab itself is. But now I'm measuring from the same spot, not the door handle because you can see it protrudes out just a hair, but the same spot width-wise, and I'm right at 60.5 inches here as well. So the interior width or hip room is virtually identical in both trucks, and I thought that the 2017 might be a little narrower there, even though it was a little bit more spacious from a knee perspective. Now my next measurement is going to be from the ground up to the outside fender well, and I'm right at 42.25 inches on the 2017 model. And on the 2016 model, I'm right at 40.75 inches. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Now, one thing that I did notice is that by having the wide track front axle, it gives me significantly better turning radius. When I took both of these trucks for a test drive, just to do a side-by-side or back-to-back comparison, the F350 actually required me to do a 3-point turn, and the F350 is the 2017 model over there. So this wide track front axle on either the 2016 or I'm sure even the 2017 F450, you have the ability to make a much sharper turn. Now here's the front frame section of my F450. Again, this is based directly on the chassis cab version of the 2016 F450. And that's a big difference between it and the F350. And I'm going to jump straight over to the passenger side of the F350 so you can see its front section as well. And here's the front frame section of the 350 with its immaculately clean E-coat. As you can tell, there are some differences in how it's constructed. Again, the F350 that we're looking at here does have a complete fully boxed frame all the way back. If you get the F450 version of this truck in 2017, then it also carries the front chassis section of the chassis cab version of that truck. And here's the front brake setup and axle on the F450. And here's that same section on the F350 that we're looking at. And here's the rear axle on the F350 2017. I noticed the back of this Dana axle actually says Ford Motor Company, or FOMOCO, which is interesting. I also noticed that on this sticker it says that this particular truck is equipped with a 4:10 rear axle ratio. And here's the rear axle on my current F450. This is a Dana S130 axle. By comparison, it actually seems to be a much larger axle than what's on the 2017. And the 2017 rear leaf setup. So this has 4 leafs with 1 overload. And here's my F450. 3 leafs with 1 overload. Now I'm going to pull the caliper out and actually give you a measurement of those leaf springs. So I have my caliper zeroed out here. I'm going to take a measurement of the first leaf, and that is 0.62. Zeroed out again. Second leaf, 0.51. Zeroed out again. Third leaf, 0.53. So now let's take a look at the F450. Fenders are actually much tighter to worm behind on my truck than on that one. So as you can see, zeroed out again. Let's do the first leaf. I'm not doing the main bottom leaf. So the first leaf, 0.60. Zeroed out. Second leaf is 0.60. So both of these leaves are over ½ an inch thick. So the leaves on this particular truck are quite a bit thicker than the leaves on the F350. You just get an extra leaf on the F350 in the main pack. But that kind of goes to show you that it's not necessarily how many leaf springs you have, it's how the leaf springs are designed. Here I'm actually underneath the 2017 F350. I'm actually looking for a spot in the frame that I can measure the thickness of the box channel. So let me try to find another spot here. So the only spot I could find to actually measure the frame thickness is back here at the back bumper area. Zeroed up my caliper. And it measures 0.185. So that's actually a pretty thick channel they use on the Ford Super Duties. Again, that's the only place on this entire frame I could actually access a hole large enough to stick the caliper in. And for those of you wondering about the 3-inch receiver hitch, I want to go ahead and measure that while I'm here as well. That is right at 3 inches. I'm actually going to let you see the insert for the receiver, the sleeve, and it is the same size as the actual receiver hole on the F450 I have. So what I can tell you is my first impressions after driving this 2017 F350 dually is that it's a very refined truck. It really does not drive like a dually or ride like a dually. It's got so much ample power, more than it really probably even needs, but it's a very, very well-behaved truck. You know, when I compare it to how my F450 handles, my F450 feels like you can feel every bump, and that the back kind of moves a little bit every time you hit a bump. It's not a bad ride, but you can feel the road very, very well. I guess people that drive BMWs would probably love that because you feel every imperfection in the road in my F450. Though I would still categorize it as a relatively smooth ride. Now, this F350 dually, on the other hand, is very isolated from the road. You can feel the road. The steering wheel has a nice firm feel to it as well. It handles great. The truck feels very, very smooth, going over a lot of the bumps that you would consider jarring on either my truck or even some of the others. You know, I didn't go over a lot of the tech on the inside because I think I showed you most of that with the King Ranch that I drove. I did a lot more measurements with this video because I felt that you wanted to see some of the other specifications. I know a lot of folks that are actually interested in buying this truck probably want to know what the height difference is between a 2016 model, and I hope I clarified some of that. These trucks are getting very tall. That being said, I haven't really heard anybody complain about not being able to hitch up their fifth wheel or their gooseneck on one of these trucks yet. And I've seen quite a few of them towing, actually. So I think that I tried to show you just about as much of this truck as made sense, considering, you know, it's a Super Duty and, you know, a lot of the stuff that I've already gone over on other trucks. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I want to actually test drive one of these even longer on a longer trip, perhaps even hitch up my fifth wheel to one just to get the towing experience. But what I can tell you is that this vehicle is not the same Ford you remember from 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. This is a completely different vehicle, both from a mechanical perspective as well as from a ride comfort perspective. Now, that also being said, you know, there's a lot of folks that say I'm falling in love with boxed frames. I guess you could say I am from a comfort perspective. The boxed frame definitely gives the truck more of a solid planted feel than an open C channel, and I'll be the first to admit that. From a heavy hauling, heavy load perspective, you know, I still kind of believe that the Class 8 trucks have it right, that an open C channel is a more reliable platform to build on simply because it allows some deflection and flexing. So that being said, I still love open C channels. These frames and chassis are so overbuilt at this point that, again, the likelihood of you experiencing any type of failure in the frame is slim to none on any of these trucks. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please like and subscribe to my page. So I want to thank AutoNation Ford in Corpus Christi, Texas. This is actually the dealership where I purchased my 2016 F450. It's a great place to buy a vehicle. They have really good pricing. And if you are in the market for a Ford vehicle, I highly recommend you give them a call if you're in the area or if you're willing to make a short trip. Anyways, if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Thank you.